So hello everyone and welcome to this third EDLab webinar on the European degree label, Global Attractiveness. So it's a great pleasure to have you here. We'll give a few more minutes to let more people come in the webinar. In the meantime, just a few information on the structure of the webinar and the agenda for today. So as you know, the focus of this webinar is really on the global attractiveness of the European degree label. So we will start with a short introduction to provide you some context around the European degree label, so what it is and why we're here to discuss the potential of the label. Then there will be a short presentation of the survey results our project EDLab has carried out in the past months with alumni of joint programs investigating the attractiveness of the label at global level. Then there will be the core of this webinar for today. That is a panel discussion with some students and alumni, marketing professionals, and also representative of global networks that will provide their perspective around the label and what it could also be in the future. Then there will be also, of course, space for question and answers. So I would like to ask you to use the question and answer box that you can find in the Zoom functionalities for addressing your question. So you can write your question in there and we will collect them at the end of the webinar. So just briefly also to introduce you to our speakers, panelists and moderators, of course. So myself, Alessandra Gallerano, I'm the head of the Projects and Mobility Office at the University of Padua in Italy, and the University of Padua is one of the partners of the EDLab project, also leading work on communication and dissemination. We will then have Isabel Nunes from the University Nova de Lisboa. She's Vice-Rector at the University Nova de Lisboa and will present the results of the survey. Then in our panel that will be moderated by another colleague from Nova de Lisboa, Ana Lebre, we have in the panel so two marketing specialists, Camilla Andreani from the University of Padua, head of recruitment, and Sara Farofia from Global Educate, and then also students and representatives of the Students and Alumni Association, Rajon, Bhuiyan, and Jordan Hammond, and a colleague from UNIMED, the director of UNIMED, Marcello Scalisi. So hopefully you will enjoy the webinar and get also a nice overview of different perspectives on the topic. And you're of course welcome to share also your ideas and perspectives on this. So I will now just start with a very short overview to provide you with some context. So many of you might be aware of this, some might not. So we decided to start with this short overview. So as you may know, in the past years, there have been strong developments at European level in terms of policy around the so-called European Strategy for Universities that was published in 2022. And within this strategy and also a later Council recommendation on building bridges for higher education cooperation, the idea of a European label for joint programs was launched. So actually, initially, the Commission, as you know, was trying to push towards the so-called European degree. Then it seemed a bit too fast, the road towards a European degree, and the member states were also not so ready to go for it. So kind of intermediate step towards the European degree was proposed with the creation of a label for a joint programs that would certify certain features of these joint programs in order to give them really a European brand. So with this in mind, let's say, the Commission started exploring and proposing criteria that would lead to this European label for joint programs, with the idea that then at a later stage, member states could decide to award also European degrees in the future. But it is part of a long-term process. There has been recent acceleration, but we won't go into detail now with this. We would need another webinar, I think, to discuss this. But based on that, a pilot call for a joint European degree label was issued, and so universities and especially alliances joined together to respond to the call, and the EDLab project is part of the call. What is important is that at the time when the call was published, the European Commission stated very clearly that this future European label or degree would not be awarded by a European body and would not replace national degrees. So it will be done in full respect of institutional autonomy and, of course, academic freedom. So going back to the call, there was this pilot European degree label call that was launched at the end of 2022, and several alliances and universities responded to the call with the idea to respond to these objectives that were already set in a very specific way, I would say, in the call themselves. So the idea was that the selected projects had to explore and test the criteria that were proposed for the European degree label, recommend also some reformulation of these criteria based on investigation that could happen at national or, of course, institutional level, and then also propose a way in which this label could be delivered to students in the future. These are some, let's say, the set of criteria that were proposed at the time and that were also annexes to the call. They were grouped into some, let's say, topics or themes. They are now, of course, under discussion. So this was the initial proposal, but it's just to show you a little bit what type of criteria were included in as a set of, let's say, as a checklist for the awarding of the European degree label. So what happened then in 2023, at the first months of 2023, 6 projects were selected by the European Commission to test and pilot the European degree label. The first project started in March, including EDLab. And of course, as you might imagine, there is a high interest by the European Commission and the Parliament in the project results. This means that we're working also together a lot with the Commission and to ensure that the 6 projects are kind of aligned and also discuss together with the Commission ongoing results of these projects. In particular, the EDLab project, that is our project and the focus of today, is one of these 6 pilot projects, and the aim is certainly to test the European degree label, but with the wider objective to further the implementation of joint degree programs in general. And also very specific to EDLab is, let's say, a regional focus. So we are focusing in particular on 4 target countries: France, Italy, Portugal, and Spain, given that these countries have, let's say, special obstacles in the development and implementation of joint programs. So this was our regional focus. It's a very short project, so we're almost at the end of it now, very packed with activities, very intense, 12 months. And it brings together 4 different European university alliances. So Arcus, that is the alliance in which also the University of Padua, so my university, is involved, Utopia, CEU, and Light. And all these alliances and are also represented here today. So we have 13 full partners from 5 countries, and many associated partners that also include ministry, quality assurance agencies, European and global networks. So some will be represented today: Student and Alumni Association, including the Erasmus Mundus Student and Alumni Association, and also other universities that partner with these alliances. So it's a very wide network, and I also want to stress we have extremely experienced people in this project, representing both the quality assurance perspective, the international relations perspective, the joint programs perspective. So it's a very interesting mix of partners and people that made also the work happen in this month. So here you will find the full list, but we will share the slides with you later, and our associated partners. Just to give you an idea, and then I will conclude, of the objectives and also the activities that we have been carrying out in the past year, I would say. The first phase was really a mapping of existing joint programs and seeing how far the current criteria as they were proposed by the European Commission were met by existing joint programs. We also try to analyze the different barriers that are existing in several in our target countries, so France, Italy, Portugal, and Spain, also through some focus groups with national authorities, quality assurance agencies, and so on. Then there is a whole work around global attractiveness, and I will leave Isabel to present you the work done on that topic. And another work package dedicated to the design and the testing of the European degree label. So really proposing a format for the label and also a path towards the delivery. So how should it be delivered to students? What shall we take into consideration, and so on. So today we're actually going to present to the Commission a set of revised label criteria with our proposals based on the long discussion, interviews, and focus groups we had in the past year. And this is being done by all the 6 projects. So the Commission will review all the proposals and recommendations and formulate a new version of these criteria. And of course, also we have elaborated a template for the European joint degree label that will be now piloted on 3 joint programs in the coming months. So we will do the first pilot awarding of the label also to these students. So that's just a very quick overview of the EDLab. You have the QR code here for also the link to our website, and you can find a lot more detailed information on our website, and you can also follow our news and the Alliance's social media for further information. So thank you very much, and I'll give the floor to Isabel now. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. Good morning to all. I will share my screen. I think it's already. Yes? Okay. So, good morning to everybody, and thank you for being here to listen to this webinar. So, the goal of my presentation today is to share with you the results of a survey regarding the attractiveness of joint degree programs. The survey was conducted online to collect the perception of European and non-European students and alumni from joint, double, or multiple degrees, and also from co-tutel. We ask the partners, associated partners, and global networks of the EDLab project to invite their students and alumni of the referred joint programs to participate in the survey. The survey was available online during 7 weeks. We received 110 answers, and after excluding non-completed surveys and students who did not attend the referred joint programs, 98 answers were considered valid. The survey was structured to collect data from their socio-demographic profile, the academic background, and their perception about the attractiveness of the joint program they are enrolled or have concluded. The survey had more than 40 questions to be answered using a Likert scale, ranging from 1, totally disagree, to 6, totally agree, and also has several open questions. The majority of the respondents were women, alumni, employed, with an age range from 25 to 34 years, and from countries that don't belong to the European higher education area, as you can see in this graph. To assess the motivations that drove the respondents to enroll in the joint or double degree program, we asked them to classify a set of 25 different motivations. For instance, complementing my home curriculum, or gaining better perspectives to get the job I inspired to do, or interacting with a new culture. Here, we are presenting the distribution of the responses based on the Likert scale I told you before, for each specific motivation. As you can observe, we have more answers in the right side of the graph, which means that most respondents tend to agree that these motivations were valid reasons for enrolling in the joint programs. However, the respondents tend to disagree that some of them were real motivations to enroll in the program. For instance, I marked with a star or a red star, for instance, increased sense of European citizenship, identity, and belonging. So this was the one that was rated with the lowest score. Then these 25 motivations were aggregated into 5 categories. The category that scored higher was academic experience, followed by international experience, job prospects, and then reputation and academic curriculum. Let's consider the 3 categories that were rated with higher score. Within the academic experience, the motivation experience a different education academic environment was the motivation that have higher score, followed by take advantage of an international joint developed curriculum, and so on. And the motivation with lower score was opportunity to cooperate with high quality researchers. In the same manner, or identically for the international experience, the category, the motivation that scored higher was living in a different country during my studies, and the lower was increased sense of, as I referred before, increased sense of European citizenship, identity, and belonging. Regarding the job prospects, work in the part of the world that matched my interests were the category that was rated higher, followed by increasing job opportunities in the country other than my home country. At the end, I will show you a slide about this motivation, about the job opportunities. The survey, as I told you before, also contains open questions. In this one here, we show you the identification of the disadvantages of being enrolled in the joint program. We select some answers that reflect the majority of the disadvantages pointed out by the respondents. For instance, the bureaucratic problems, the slowness in the process, and the lack of the support between the universities, or the amount of paperwork is larger than for a normal degree, delayed to transfer the grades. Some international offices are not always fully aware on how to handle some situations for a joint program. And at the end, for instance, it's hard to find accommodations in a new country. So these were some of the reasons that the respondents write in the survey. And then I'm showing you other results regarding this. In this case, the motivations, the assessment of the motivations that drove respondents to choose to study in a university belonging to the European higher education area. We asked them to classify 17 different motivations, for instance, more employment opportunities, quick visa process, tuition fee for the program, and some more. As you can also observe, most respondents tend to agree that these motivations were valid reasons for enrolling in joint programs. However, the respondents tend also to disagree to some of them. For instance, same choice as my friends or family opinion at the bottom are two motivations that were rated with the lowest score. Also, these motivations were aggregated into, in this case, 6 categories. The category that scored higher was reputation, followed by financial, job prospects, international experience, safety and security, and personnel. Let's also consider the 3 categories that rated with higher score. Within the academic reputation, the prestige of the university was the motivation with higher score, followed by a better quality education than offered in my home country. Regarding the financial category, having the financial support, the scholarship, the tuition fee for the program were also the ones that rated higher. Living expenses are more employment opportunities, and at the lower rated was legal part-time job opportunities. So another question of this survey was if your diploma has an European degree label, that will help you to get better recognition of your academic degree, better competitive advantage at the European labor market or at non-European labor market, or better job opportunities. The perception of the respondents were positive, being, as you can see, the average was more than 4, so almost agree with these answers. In the graph, you can see the comparison between the respondents from non-European higher education area and respondents from European higher education area, and the ones from non-EHEA have better perceived that is more beneficial. These have if the diploma had an European degree label. As I referred before, one of the highest motivations to enroll in joint programs perceived by the respondents was having better job opportunities in the country other their own. So we decided to verify if this perception was confirmed in reality. Therefore, we looked at the employed respondents and compare where they lived before enrolled the joint program and where they live now. In the graph, it is possible to observe that with the exception of respondents from North America, the percentage of non-European respondents living in their original region decreased, and apparently they are employed in European countries. So this was my last slide. These were some of the results we obtained with the survey. We have more questions, but for having the discussion, these were the ones we select. And I would like to thank you for your attentions. And now let's start the panel discussion. And I give the floor to EDLab. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel, for sharing with us the survey results. So let me introduce you our panelists. Camilla Andriani, she is head of recruitment from University of Padua. She is a sales and marketing professional with a solid background in sales and marketing. Camilla has been leading the international recruitment team and managing the promotion of the University of Padua, enhancing its presence and reputation on an international level since March 2021. With us also is Rajon Bhuiyan, Erasmus Mundus Students and Alumni Association's Director of the Outreach and Capacity Building Unit for the term 2021-25. Rajon is deeply passionate about volunteerism and has been an active contributor to EMA since 2017, and he has been instrumental in guiding the outreach and capacity building unit and also spearheading EMA global initiatives. Also, Sara Farofia, she is a marketing and admissions executive of Globe Educate International Schools since April 2023, and she is a seasoned professional in the fields of admissions, marketing, and international students recruitment. She is helping the improvement of strategy and implementation of best practice on the Portuguese schools. Also from EMA, we have Jordan Hammond. She is Director of Policy and Quality Assurance since 2021. And she is also passionate about raising awareness of and advocating for international education programs such as Erasmus Mundus. Also with us, we have Marcello Scalisi. He is a director of UNIMED, Mediterranean Universities Union, since 2008. He started working at UNIMED in 1998 as project manager, and moved gradually to the coordination of UNIMED's European, international, and national funded initiatives and projects. UNIMED is nowadays a permanent stakeholder of the European Commission. So I would like to start to ask, to direct the question to Jordan and Rajon, to how attractive is European higher education for international students and why?
I can go ahead and start, as I finished my Erasmus Mundus Masters, and I'm currently in Italy for the next 6 years, obtaining my medical degree, which, coming from the US, is a higher education degree. I know in Europe it might be different, but obviously I found it appealing enough to stay for an extra 6 years. So one of the things that I found most interesting was that, coming from where I studied in the United States, we had a huge international population, but there was a lack, at least I felt, of integration between the countries. We didn't interact with the international students, so there was not very much, how can we learn from each other? And I noticed when I was applying for master's degrees that the Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters had a very high level of integration. My program specifically has 3 weeks where we live basically in a summer camp in the middle of France and do an entire course together. So I wanted that. I wanted to be able to eventually return to the US and explain how the integrative European education system worked to my benefit. And hopefully in 4.5 years, I will be able to do that.
Thank you. Rajon?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. I come from Bangladesh. So I completed my Erasmus Mundus Joint Master degree between 2017 and 2019. So for me, the most attractive part was the diversity of different countries. So I studied in Spain, France, and Hungary. So these are different countries with different language, different culture and food. So for me, when an international student comes to Europe for studying, they have this unique opportunity to get this cultural enrichment and an international environment they might not get otherwise. One student could be studying in Germany and could easily travel and get to meet new people and new culture in a very short distance. So for me, I think one of the key aspect is the diversity in culture and also the international aspect of it, and also not forgetting to mention is the language aspect. So whenever you go to a new country, you get to learn one or two words from a new language, which is of course very fascinating. So for me, I think this whole block, the European higher education area, it provides something unique that is very uncommon in another part. You can get this international aspect here.
Thank you, Rajon. I will address the same question to Marcello.
Thanks, Anna. Obviously, I have in a way, a different perspective, not only because I'm not a student or not so close to be a former student, but looking at the dimension of our network. UNIMED, as you probably know, is a network of Euro-Mediterranean universities. This means that we have universities from both sides of the Mediterranean, European side, but also, more importantly, Southern Mediterranean side. We have 164 universities with us from 27 countries, and in particular, talking about international students, let me say in this way, we have several projects where we are working to improve mobility of students, not only mobility period, but also to enroll the students from one side to another. And I have two comments on this, the attractiveness of the European degrees, looking at, in particular, again, Southern Mediterranean region, which is a very particular region, talking about internationalization, not only for the problem that we are facing currently in some very particular country. I'm not talking only about the war among Israel and Hamas and the situation in Palestine, but also the situation in Syria, Libya, also other countries that are facing economic issues that obviously are, sort of perspective to improve migration issues and so on. For sure, European degrees is very important for all the students that are in the Southern Mediterranean country. They look to have opportunity to study in Europe. On one side, we can say that the European system is trying to attract those students, but on the other end, there are a lot of obstacles to have those students in Europe. I don't know about the experiences of our colleague from Bangladesh to catch a visa, to arrive in Europe, to live in Europe, in which condition, which the financial support of the scholarship. But if you don't have a financial support, it's quite complicated. But also talking about inclusion, because obviously this is another issue. At the moment, for instance, we have a program to enroll. This is the 8th edition. It's a very long experience to enroll every year 50-60 students from Maghreb countries to Italian universities, in particular university based in Sardinia. This is for master degree. There is a private foundation that sponsors the scholarship. The university in Italy, they reduce totally their own cost to help those students to participate. The Maghreb universities help us to select the students that want to come to Italy, and every year we have a lot of requests. But once we go for the visa, the Italian embassies, but it's a common issue to all the European countries. I don't want to say that they create obstacles, but in a way it seems that they are not exactly helping us in this perspective. I think that coming back also to the questionnaire and to the results that you showed, very interesting results. There are two elements. First of all, European higher education system wants to attract students worldwide. And this is quite normal, quite interesting. And I think that is very important. But on the other end, we have to work on the political dimension of this message, because if we don't have a clear understanding, I mean, from the European side, the importance of this, and then every single member states create difficulties because they have their own policy on migration and so on. Obviously, this is create just frustration in our partners, in our students, both sides. And on another note, the European University Alliances are creating a very interesting dynamics. We are involved in some of them as associated partner, obviously as a network. But I think that probably we are now concentrating too much on the European dimension, and we are losing a little the international dimension of our cooperation activity. I know several universities, not the big one, a small one, that they are totally absorbed by the European University Alliances dimension, the work plan, the activity to be done, is a pilot in a way, and so on, and don't have any more time to dedicate to internationalization. Considering where we live, and I think that EDLab project is a Mediterranean project, let me say, because we have Italy, Spain, France, and Portugal. I feel that we have also to encourage this international dimension of our activities, both for the alliances, but also in the European degree. And why not also involving by case, of course, and selecting carefully also some not EU universities in this perspective to create a dynamic to say, as European universities, we are not on the top of the hill, and you can accede to us if in case you are so lucky, but we want to share common values. We want to work together because it is the only way to solve our common problems. I think that probably, and I conclude with this for this first question, European Commission is so concentrated in the European dimension, also in education, that is correct, but probably they are losing the perspective how important it is to internationalize, in particular to Southern Mediterranean countries, because at the end, what is happening in Southern Mediterranean countries will affect, for sure, the European dimension. And this is the reason why, for the neighborhood policy of the European Commission, to have countries close to European Union, safe, stable, and well economic developed, which is not, unfortunately, the case for the Mediterranean region. Okay.
Thank you, Marcello. It was very interesting, your insights. Before I ask the same questions to our other panelists, I see that Jordan wants to add something. Jordan, please.
Yes. First of all, Marcello, thank you for mentioning the visa challenges aspect. One of my current tasks within Emma is we did a huge visa challenges survey. I know Rajon and I had very different experiences, but many challenges each based on where we're from, where we were going, whether we were funded or not. So it is hopefully the paper that we produce with all of the data will hopefully be ready May or June. And hopefully this will help guide better collaboration from the internationalization aspect in the future. So I did just want to let everyone know that Emma is working on that.
Please share as soon as you can. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. So how attractive is European higher education for international students and why? Camilla, could you share with us your vision?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I can relate to the different points of view. I mean, I experience, by attending recruitment fair and meeting with students, the enthusiasm and the desire to come to Europe. And as Rajon was saying, the fact of free movement, the possibility of coming and moving around and traveling is definitely, an important drive. Also, there's a shift, let's say, in the past couple of years. I normally travel to Asia, both Central Asia and Southeast. And the most, I always ask, I start all my presentation asking, where do you want to study? Let's say that at the beginning, the only answer was the USA. And now this is changing. I mean, the US as a study destination is still in the picture, and it's still a big player. But there are more and more answers about Europe or mentioning specific European countries. And the drivers are similar to those that were, based on the US, let's say, answer. So the possibility of investing on their future and to find, better opportunities in terms of job prospects and, to acquire skills that may not be available in their country of origin, because this is also an aspect to consider. There are countries where certain disciplines or study areas are not represented, and if you want, to follow a career in that specific domain, you have to look for the place where these study areas are available. But also, it's nice to see how, and it reflects the survey that Isabel presented earlier on, because every time somebody answers Europe, the reputation is mentioned. The excellence of the universities, like the names and the history. So there's a growing awareness from students of the possibility that the European education, pass me the word, market offers. At the same time, I totally agree with what Marcello was saying about the need for member states to harmonize not only the education system, which I think universities are doing a great job in this sense, but all the surroundings, and in terms of immigration policy, but also in terms of what's next, because that's a question that students ask. Okay, so I want to come to Europe for this, and this, but one of the first questions, and I haven't chosen the destination yet, is how long I can stay after graduation, and what are the job opportunities, how easy it is to find a job, in how many months will I find a job, and that's mainly because it's a major investment for a student that comes from a non-European country, deciding to study in Europe is a major investment in terms of economic resources. So that's also something to consider, but also in terms of personal life, it's a change. You decide to leave not only your comfort zone. In some cases, they leave their families, so to invest in a better future. So all these, we need to be prepared to make sure that yes, they find great quality education, and they find what we deliver, what we promise with our degrees, but what about their life? They come to study, but they also come to live. So this is something that I know that it's not totally under our control, but it's something that should be highlighted, because it's a critical decision-making factor.
Yes, Camilla, well pointed. And now, Sarah, could you, by your experience, share with us what do you think about the attractiveness of European higher education?
Yes, hello. I think here the point is not so if European higher education is attractive or not, because I believe that we agree that is attractive because we have good quality, prestige. The oldest universities in the world, they are based here, and the international students, they recognize that. I work mainly with Portuguese country speakers, Angola, Brazil, and they see Europe as a dream. Okay, they see has good weather, and I'm now talking more about Portugal has the door of entry to the Europe, like we told in our fairs, and they recognize the culture, the good balance, price quality that nowadays it's not so attractive. But what my colleagues share about some concerns about visa accommodation, we need to ensure more to international students that we are here to support them, because it's not only to decide, okay, I want to go to Europe to study, I would like to have this amazing experience, but what will be my support in this experience? How can university help me with accommodation, with visa? We had a lot of students in the university that were expecting for a visa for more than 1 year. This is not realistic for a person that is planning their studies and their lives. And that's it.
Thank you, Sarah. So next question, we would like to know that what do you believe that joint programs, and more specifically future joint European degrees, offer and added value for students comparing to traditional degree programs. In what way? I would start with Marcello, for instance. What do you think? Joint programs and more specifically, these joint European degrees, what could be the added value for students compared to traditional degree programs?
But I think that, of course, it could be for a niche of students, but in any case, I think that is surely more attractive, at least for those that have an international dimension perspective in itself. We already have a lot of experiences, I mean, not as UNIMED, but generally speaking, of a lot of students that they have their degree in one university, master in another university, and so in a way they're created their international background. This is also common not only for European students, but also for students coming from around the world. For instance, also refugees, for instance, we have some good experiences of refugees that they have the degree in one university, then a master in another one, and then a PhD and somewhere else, and so on. To have an EU degree, I think that is, for this particular kind of people, is surely attracting. Then we have to create the right condition to do that, because it's not only a matter of curricula. Depends on many factors. We already have the experiences as European of the Erasmus Mundus master degree, which is attractive, but this creates also some, let me say, in the student perspective, comparison among universities, among systems, and so on. The harmonization is needed, obviously encouraging our differences, because our differences is a sort of part of our richness, in a way. Again, I think that there is no problem in terms of attractivity. The risk is that this opportunity, at the beginning at least, will be only for those students, not only that already have an international perspective, but also that they have the means to manage this. I mean, in economic terms, but also in cultural terms, the support of their family, living in diverse conditions and so on. And also this depends how it works. If it's just an EU degree working and studying in one university, or a EU degree moving from one university to another, which I think that is probably the best opportunity for the students. There is not also the answer to the survey show us there is not a matter of attractivity. There is more probably how to encourage universities to work on it, how to ask universities, because it's as European University Alliance is showing, is a major commitment for the university. They started to consider that at the International Relations Department level. And now there are a lot of problems in terms of academic problems, not related to internationalization. I think that we have to push, in a way, universities to consider this opportunity, because, and then we have to create the right storytelling to encourage university to do that. Because for the students, I think that there is no problem in terms of attractivity. I am not sure about the same attractiveness for the university in itself. This is probably a question for the colleague here around the table.
So, for instance, Camilla, do you want to?
Yeah, well, it's no, it's not an easy question, because we're talking about words like a joint degree and a traditional degree, but it all matters what is offered in the two. I mean, in theory, of course, a joint degree, should be more valuable, but then we have to look who is part of the joint degree, because students look at the names of the universities that, they browse, they look around, they look at the rankings of the universities, at the rankings of the subjects, they read a lot, they document themselves. So choosing the right, let's say, consortium for the right field. So who to partner for a specific topic. And so that could be, something to consider, because definitely the possibility of moving around, of experiencing, different countries, like that's a dream, as Sarah was saying. Like you have the possibility to study at multiple countries and like getting exposure and experience and different perspectives. So everything is great, and on paper, definitely, everybody would go for that rather than for a more traditional, for the traditional degree. But so the focus right now needs to be on the quality of what we offer, so that then, the label acquires the strength that it needs to really be like a brand, and to have, its own value. But the joint degree itself does not have a value if it's not supported by the quality of the product.
Rajon, once you are a former student from a joint program, do you want to add your opinion about this? Do you think that a joint European degree would add additional value to these to the students than a traditional degree?
Yep. Thank you, Anna. So to add a bit, like whatever our previous speaker said, to add some new points to those. One, currently, see, when you talk about traditional programs, let's say it could be bachelor, masters. So currently, from the perspective of international students, that was already mentioned, the current top destination in the world, according to also a recent survey, is of course US, UK, and Australia and Canada. In the top 5, the only European country is Germany. But Germany has recently moved in the top 5, let's say in the last 7-8 years or thereabout. So internationally, whenever people are thinking about pursuing higher education and then creating a nice career for themselves, the top 3 destinations are, or let's say top 4 destinations are all Anglo-Saxon, outside of Europe, say outside of European Union. So one absolutely unique perspective that the future European joint degrees could bring is the something that is not available anywhere else. So the fact that a student can study in 2-3 top European universities that might be offering a topic of interest. It's something very unique. Maybe I can give a hypothetical example. Let's say Denmark is because I come from a energy engineering background, maybe I'll give this example, which will be easier for the participants to understand. Denmark is quite big with wind energy, and their top universities are working or researching a lot in wind energy. And if let's say, I don't know, go to south, let's say Spain has a lot of solar irradiation in generally, and a lot of solar panels. So a person who is thinking about pursuing a degree in renewable energy, sustainable and clean energy, if that person finds a joint degree that is offered by a university in Denmark and Spain, it automatically makes it a bit more attractive. Say, okay, I get to study this particular topic in 2 universities who are specialized in the aspect of the program. So this is a unique perspective that can bring the European bloc at let's say at a good advantage when you are trying to compete for international students, because this opportunity is not given anywhere else where you can go and study in multiple universities. And also from the perspective of employers, companies and international organizations, whenever they see a student that has studied in at least 2 universities in 2 different countries, and they come from a diverse classroom, it kind of refers that, okay, this student or a recent graduate is used to collaborate in an international environment. He or she can and let's say work on a project that has colleagues from, I don't know, 15 different countries, and they are speaking 6 different languages. So this is of course a strong point of a joint degree alumni. So I think I wanted to put a bit more international perspective also. So these things of course make the future European degrees a bit more, let's say, attractive when compared to the traditional ones. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Jordan?
Yes, similarly to Rajon's perspective, I think coming at it from, I worked in my admissions office at my undergraduate US University too, and they quite often talked about, like you mentioned earlier, Camilla, what words and how do we describe those words are going to be the most appealing. And I think for me, I study public health and medicine, so anything collaborative is obviously much better than something that's just from a singular country. I did a lot of comparative health policy, so obviously the need to study in various countries is imperative and vital for my studies. And I think with my program, the words integrative, joint, collaborative were the words that stuck out to me. So I think in this case, something joint is always going to be more valuable, but it's all in how you market what joint means. Like Rajon mentioned, how do the 3 countries offer different energy engineering perspectives? How do these several countries differ greatly in terms of health policy? Those are the things that are going to be the most attractive, because in singular countries, as an example, coming from the US, the state that I'm from, Georgia, has more or less the same policies on health as New York does. So I can't compare the 2 that much, but being in a place where I live in Italy now, trying to navigate the health system is different than when I was in Spain or France or the Netherlands. And those opportunities are invaluable, whether you're from inside the EU or not.
Thank you, Jordan. Sarah, do you think that a joint program at the joint European degree could offer an added value for students compared to traditional degree?
I will say that my first thought is yes, of course, we'll have degrees recognized not only in one university, one country, more universities, countries, more employability for students, global experience. But on the other side, my concerns will be about the full experience for the student. How will we create the experience pack? Because it's like I was imagining myself, because as a student, I won't be based in one university. I will be based in more universities. I believe I don't know the full the detailed project, okay? But I imagine that the student will have lesser sense of presence, of presence, of presence of each university. So it's all things that we need. I think we need to work not only the program, the academic program, and how it's integrated between all the universities, but how it works. How is the exchange from one semester to the other? How it works? Who will guide the students? You know, who will be your buddy? That's it.
Thank you. So And now, based on the survey results regarding the student motivations to study in Europe and to choose a joint program, what key features should the future joint European degrees include to be attractive? And I now start with Jordan.
I think this question relates very well to what I just mentioned. And I think for me, every single topic we study, whether it's business or arts or languages, there is a greater element of understanding if there is collaboration. And we live in a very interconnected world that's growing increasingly more interconnected. So that aspect of, as much as some of us don't love the group project, we don't love the integration aspect all the time because it's difficult. It challenges you. Those parts are absolutely vital for a successful joint degree program that does things that a traditional degree program doesn't. I know for my program, we did, as I mentioned, a 3-week integration module where we started from a needs assessment in a country that we were assigned with generally impossible, wicked problems that related to public health that couldn't be solved in a traditional manner in a traditional classroom. And we worked all the way up to several of our projects actually being implemented in those countries. And that might be possible theoretically in a traditional classroom with a bunch of students more or less from the same place. But when you're getting examples of topics and perspectives on the same topic from 10 plus countries, that experience is, in my opinion, so much more valuable. And that is the most important aspect for one of these programs for me.
Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah.
What key features this joint European degree should have to be more attractive?
For the survey, we saw that all the key aspects are the same, like the internationality, academic experience, the job concerns, how will employers accept your European degree. I was thinking, if I'm a student from this program, how I will put this on my LinkedIn, you know? I think that there are some things that we need to focus on our key message, and of course the financial investment that they will need to have.
Rajon, I was seeing that you was saying yes. Could you share with us what you were thinking about could be these key features?
Initially, I will come back to my original point, but just to add to what Sarah said. So in a lot of places, when you apply, it could be a PhD after your joint degree. You could be PhD or job application. The applications are online. So you have to select, okay, from where did you graduate? So there, still today, there is not an option of selecting multiple countries. So even though I studied in 3 countries and I have a degree from Spain and Hungary, whenever I'm applying for a job, it has an online portal where you do not give the input. It's like a drop-down menu. I still have to select either Spain or France. And in the university, it automatically comes. If you select Hungary, all the Hungarian university will come in the next drop-down menu. So this is something we also need to make it, let's say, easy. Or let's say we need to promote it in such a way that people all over Europe, they at least understand, okay, some people are from a traditional degree and the people are coming with joint degrees that might need to select multiple countries and multiple universities. So this is something that could make life a bit easier for during application. And coming back to my original answer that I had in mind. So if you make segment like the whole value chain of a student, if you divide it, say incoming students, current student, and graduate, So in each of these three segments, you could like add new features to make it more attractive. One key feature which would make life very easier for non-European as well as European students is accommodation. So if you are moving from country to country, and if the program can ensure accommodation, if it has dorms, which is great, a room in the dorm. If not, maybe some alternate accommodation, that makes life already very easier, because during my mobility, only France, the university in France offered me university dormitory, and it was very, let's say, very straightforward to get. Couple of emails, I got a room. But for other countries, it was very, very difficult. No dorm, and also not much support from the administration also. So that is one key feature that could help both incoming students for the first semester and current students for the rest of the semesters. And also, as some of the respondent mentioned already in your survey, that a lot of paperwork and bureaucracy. So it's common for both European and non-European. If you are traveling from country to country to, getting all the ECTS together, coming up with a combined transcript. So these are all paperwork related challenges. If they are solved, and if it is portrayed, okay, things would be easier because of this feature, it will make, let's say, incoming students very, very confident and say, okay, I can easily go through the whole process. It will not be a huge burden for me. So yeah, that's I was thinking about.
Thank you, Rajon. Marcello, what key features should the future joint European degrees include to be attractive? What do you think about this?
But I think that is exactly what we try to do in our, again, not for myself, but for all of us in our international activity. As Jordan said, cooperation first and quality. If there is no quality, and also the reason why you have to have a degree studying in several countries, because the added value should be very well described. Otherwise, you could have just an Erasmus mobility program and study in your country, and that's it. But if the universities are able to work together to define a curricula and to define the added value of that opportunities, also trying to support students as university normally do, for placement opportunity at highest level possible, because we are discussing about a European degree label, which is something new and so on. I think that is the only way. Otherwise, remain just an international opportunities that is, in any case, is interesting, provide opportunities for students to move in different, probably as someone wrote in the question answer session, could be more attractive for not European student than the European in itself. This is something that could be also another reflection to be done, probably. But again, I think that the only way to succeed on this is stronger collaboration among universities, of course, not just to use it and to work on it as a bureaucracy process. I see the point of Rajon also, to have a degree, and then if you don't have the right flag to present yourself in some, and to show the added value that you have with your background and so on, doesn't make sense. This is something very interesting, the bureaucracy of European Union sometimes. It's very, very strange. But on the other, to conclude, I think that is again quality and the academic dimension should be highest, and the added value should be very well described and demonstrated. Otherwise, it's not so relevant to have such opportunity. Thanks.
Yes, Marcello, you are right about it. So now I will skip to another question. So what do you believe that European label certifying certain key elements of a joint program would be seen as an added value by students and employers? And give some examples, for instance, for recognition purposes or for job purposes. So, for instance, Jordan, could you share with us what do you think that European label should certify?
I think obviously there's going to be in all of my responses, you can tell the aspect of all of this that's most important to me is the collaboration aspect. And I know in terms of soft skills, it's very hard to verify that someone, like Rajon mentioned, has that extremely diverse international experience in a classroom. But as I mentioned earlier, as the world continues to grow increasingly more connected, people and ideas are moving all over all of the time. I think the ability to, as best possible, certify that these students did work in an international environment is something that is going to be very important. Of course, it's hard to quantify, and sometimes it might be hard to, coming from my quality assurance perspective, to assure that just because this degree did have people from X amount of countries doesn't necessarily mean that those students gain the experience of a classroom with that many countries. But it is a super important soft skill that a lot of countries and people in those countries don't get access to, whether they know about it or not. So an ability to have some sort of, I don't know if it's an assignment, a project, things like that, per of these degree labels that would, as best possible, certify that international diverse perspective aspect is very important.
Rajon?
It's certainly going to be very attractive to enhance the attractiveness by providing a European level. Just want to make maybe an example coming from the Bologna process, the ECTS system, the European Credit Transfer System. So in Europe, north, south, east, west, different way of studying exams. I know exams could be 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 100 marks, 20 marks. It varies. But at the macro level, the definition of one ECTS is defined. So it is 25 to 30 hours of workload and study. So it doesn't matter which university you studied in. If you say, okay, in my last semester, I did 30 ECTS. It could be Sweden, it could be Italy, north, south. You would all more or less understand, okay, if the student has studied 30 ECTS, you in your head, in your mind, you can map, okay, maybe the student has studied this many hours and this and that. So there is at a macro level a very clear understanding. So similarly, if we can have a label, European degree label, at a micro level, things could be different, how they do things, different universities, different structure. But at the macro level, if you have that label, sorry, it makes it easier for people to understand, okay, label means they have fulfilled these 5, 6 or whatever criteria. These are common in all the labels, but internally there could be some differences. So making a label at the macro level, it's let's say gives an international recognition and European level recognition. So everybody will be easily on board as, okay, label means this many things, at least minimum, and then we can maybe go into details. Yeah. So, and also makes it easier for the employer. So if they know what is the definition of a label and what are the criteria upon which the label is provided, they also have a good understanding. Okay, all these labels, different countries, north, south, east, west, central, but doesn't matter. If you have a label, more or less I can understand, okay, these are at least the basics of the joint degrees. So I think European level, pan-European level, it could make it more recognizable, and making also it's easier for the students as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajon. Sarah, what do you believe that a European label certifying key elements would be seen as an added value?
Yeah, that will be helpful to have a label that helped this recognition. I was thinking about not Rajon talk about the Bologna process. I was thinking also about the double degrees process that we have in Portugal. Only these type of programs, they were only launched 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And at this moment, they are not all the employers know what it is. So I believe the work starts with each country, each university, work what it means an European degree to avoid happen what Rajon shared, that if I'm going to an interview in a company. Oh, okay. What is this? What I never heard about a European degree. So I believe that each country needs to like a awareness process, explain what it is, starting having a clear message. When I'm going to the university website, I clearly see the program, what are the advantage, how it's built, how it works, how it is the cooperation and the integration with other universities. Of course, the European level helps, but I believe that the work starts initially inside each university with a line communication and message.
Thank you, Sarah. And Marcello, what do you think?
Obviously, I agree with what has been said, and also we have to consider that at least at the beginning of these experiences will be a sort of challenge also to attract and invite students to enroll in this. We could consider this like the beginning of the Erasmus program, the mobility program, in a way. Now, after more than 30 years, it's impossible to think of a university life without Erasmus program, without mobility. If a politician arrive and say, no more Erasmus mobility skills, probably will be fired immediately, he or she will be fired immediately. I think that we have to work little by little at the beginning with some, and also probably doing some mistakes, why not? To promote this and to invite and attract students in trying again to show in as much as possible through label and other instruments how the reason why this is an added value for them, because I think that in particular for master students they are not they don't want to lose their time. And they look for the best opportunities, not only in Europe, but also around the world. This means that not only ranking and so on, but normally I don't like this ranking dimension, but we have to obviously to take care of this. But again, I think that it's important to show as much as possible, to explain, present, to promote through networks and through students' organization, because I think that the role of students' organization and private sector as well is extremely important in this perspective. Involve them from the beginning probably should help in the promotion and also in the attractiveness of the master, the European degree opportunities. Over.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcello. So now I would, Alessandra, could you
Yes, I see Camila has a hand raised, and then
Yeah.
I think we can go to the questions.
Yes. It's just very, very quickly, just connecting to what Marcello was saying about, the not wasting time and job prospects. The certifying key elements of the label. We have been focusing, of course, on the student dimension, so on the attractiveness of the label for the students. But we need to, look also at the attractiveness of the label for employers, because once they will start receiving these type of students and see that they have, that they are good students, of course, with practice, they will recognize the value. But at the beginning, they will not be familiar with the name, with the type of title. So by creating awareness also within the employer community, stating what are the added value of the label, definitely facilitates, the transitioning process from the students to the job market, and the raising of also the brand awareness. Everybody will more quickly become, first of all, aware of the existence, because until we discuss, within universities, we are all aware, but then we're talking among ourselves. So sometimes we forget to tell the world what we are doing. And so we have to keep this in mind, when including, when certifying key elements. Okay, what's in it for the student, but what's in it for the employer? Why should I, hire a student coming from a joint degree rather than a traditional degree? So that we can speed up the process. Eventually, it will come, naturally. But if we give them some elements since the beginning, it will be faster. The process will be faster.
Thank you, Camila.
Thank you. I think that was a very interesting panel, and thank you all for contributing in such an insightful way. We have a lot of questions. Time is also short, but we will still take, I think, 5-10 minutes for the question. So you're welcome to stay if you can. I will personally answer a few and then leave the floor to Isabel and other colleagues, to the panelists, of course. There is a question regarding on the challenges found in France, Italy, Portugal, Spain regarding the delivery of joint degrees. It's a very complex question that there's no time now to go through it in detail, but I kindly invite you to look up our website, where you also have a full deliverable of a report that was done by some colleagues from EDLab focusing on this and analyzing all the different criteria and seeing where the major challenges were. We also had organized another EDLab webinar with quality assurance agencies and ministries exactly to address this. So this can also be found on our website. In general, I would say a major divergence in quality assurance procedures, and the fact that some quality assurance agencies are not registered with ECHAR was one of the most, let's say, outstanding obstacles. Also, divergence in procedures for the approval and implementation of the new programs, the length of study program, example in Spain, a divergence on legislation on tuition fees, the issuing of the diploma, languages, and also funding mechanisms. This is really just to mention a few, but certainly the one links to quality assurance procedures linked to the accreditation of the programs, and also the possibility toward joint degrees were among the most debated ones. So I invite you to have a look at our website for further details, and also watch the recording of the other webinar if you're interested, where you can really hear the different national perspective and also some updates updates on the way forward. I mean, some proposals by the different ministries also to how to address these challenges. So this is one. Then I also wanted to answer a question regarding there was a question regarding the criteria and how many institutions actually fulfill these criteria. So I can only speak about the EDLab experience, but we are now going to share the results of the other 5 projects as well. Certainly in our pilot, I would say the major obstacle was the degree. So joint degree, because currently there is a criteria on the awarding of a joint degree. So multiple degrees, double degrees are left out. So that reduced the number of programs a lot. And finally, out of the programs we have interviewed and in-depth interviewed, I would say, checking all the criteria and so on, we are now going to pilot the awarding of the label to 3 programs. So it's quite a small number compared to the initial number of programs we had analyzed. But this is our experience. So certainly you can have a look again at the deliverable, and also we will organize a webinar focusing on the delivery of the label and how it will be awarded, and discussion on that. So it will be our next webinar probably by the end of February or beginning of March. So stay tuned for the date. So that's was some questions, and I would give the floor to Isabel now to answer the question by Michaela and Adriana.
Okay, thank you. Of course, we would like, to have more answers to our survey, and 98% were a random and convenient sample, people that like to give her voice in the questionnaire. Of course, it's one of the limitations of this survey, the number of respondents. And regarding to the survey, regarding the third question, joint programs are more beneficial to non-European students. The question was if your diploma has an European degree label. That will help you to, it's not about the joint programs itself, but to have the label. So, and the perception was little, the non-European respond a little, have a little higher perception that will be beneficial to or add value that would facilitate the better recognition in your country, in their own country, because I think after the ED label become a standard, so it will be more easier to be recognized and to facilitate, as someone already mentioned, facilitate the transition of students from to the market, and I think it will be an add value, and special for all the students, but special for the non-European. Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Isabel. In general, I think it's a very relevant question. Like, are we missing something in building this label? It also, I mean, based on my experience in our institution, these the joint programs in general are currently at least more attractive to non-EU students than to EU students. So a lot of coordinators of joint programs also ask themselves, how can we make it more attractive for EU students? So I think this is a relevant message that we should also bring up to the European Commission, so that they can reflect on this also for the future steps related to the label. Thank you. So there are then two questions for the panelists in general. So one is again linked to key messages. So the question is by Laura Colò: if you want this label to be recognized at the international level, which kind of recognition message would you need? So for example, recognition in terms of quality assurance, European values, multilingualism. So what does the label actually need to represent? I think I mean, there were already some inputs in the previous discussions, but I ask the panelists if anyone wants to take this question or provide an opinion on this. Rajon, Jordan, in your opinion?
Yeah, I can add. Yeah, so it has to be directly connected to the criteria. So one example I can give is our Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Degree catalog. It has kind of like 200 master's degree. If you go to the website of the commission, it lists all the masters, and it defines, okay, what is an Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Degree, what is this, what is that, and then you get to the list. And once you click on the list, click on a master's, it then redirects you to their individual website. Now, coming back to the point, it's if in there is a website on European degree label and what it means and what are all the criterias, and this all could be included. I think the 10-11 criteria that we have, of course, the quality assurance, and then also how they're contributing to the European values and multiculturalism, where they're only teaching in one language or multiple. So all these things, if they're listed based on the criteria, set criteria, then a person who wants to check what is this label about can come to the website directly and read and understand, okay, this is what is the meaning of the label, and it covers all these criteria. So if all the masters that has this label more or less covers these things. So I think a similar approach could be made here also when you are doing this trying to make it recognized at international level. Yeah.
I think for me, I'll have 3 degrees from the EU if you want to consider both of the masters I obtained from the International Erasmus Master's Program, and then of course the medical degree that I mentioned I'm getting now. And bringing those back to the US is currently a challenge regardless. And I think, as I mentioned with the marketing aspect of how we're using our words, this is an issue, a problem, whatever you want to call it, that we're going to have to face, because yes, many students do stay in the EU, whether they're from here or not, but many also return to their home countries in hopes that the education they obtained in the EU will further their career in their home country or a third-party country. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's hard to certify these soft skills, but as Rajon just stated, being is clear-cut in how every aspect of these future joint degrees relate to the criteria already set by the European Commission will help standardize and make it more clear for those countries who aren't in the EU and really need to understand, what is this joint degree? We don't have it here.
Thank you. I think that's very helpful, also related to what you were saying before. So thank you for that. If anyone else wants to add, please feel free also afterwards. And another question also for the panelist is by Wim Schenen. Could you relate your discussion on job opportunities to the European Commission point on avoiding brain drain? Anyone wants to take that? Marcello, maybe?
Personally, probably this is my international attitude. I'm not so worried about the brain drain dimension if we are discussing in the EU dimension, because EU means that we are free to move from one country to another and to, we are used to say that we have now, thanks to the Erasmus program, Erasmus families, Erasmus babies. And normally I add also Erasmus divorce, which is the life, is our common life now. And we have to consider this quite normal, and in some cases, something that enrich all of us. And I'm saying that from my Italian perspective, as you probably understood my accent, and is very, very quite relevant also discussion in Italy, who a lot of best students, Italian students work somewhere in the world. But this could be relevant in looking at students coming from not EU countries. And this is something that we have for sure to take in consideration. Attracting students worldwide could be also, if we are discussing about not so large numbers, it's not so a problem, but at the same time, we have to, why not, to create condition for those people eventually to come back, find the right opportunities, and why not to contribute to their own country. But we are discussing about people that probably they should select for their future, they should choose for their future what they think is the best for them. And personally, I'm not so worried about the brain drain dimension, to be honest. Over.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to add to this? Oh, okay. So I would go to the last question, also because we are a bit behind schedule. So in terms of recognition, do you expect the benefit most in recognition towards the labor market or academics, so access? So regarding the latter, are you planning cooperation with ENIC-NARIC networks as academic recognition information centers? They also expand beyond the EU. So I don't know who the question is addressed to. I don't know, Anna, do you want to take this one?
Yes, yes, it's very important to have a cooperation with also with NARIC, because one of the problems that the joint programs have is the recognition of the degree. So it's very important that this European joint degree should be recognized by should be recognized in all countries. So later the NARIC networks should be involved also during this project. I see that, for instance, Jordan wants to add something regarding this question.
Yes, I think currently like I mentioned, I live in Italy and I'm still trying to get my degrees verified from my master's in other EU countries. So I think it's a problem in something that needs working on, not just with these joint degree labels, is there might be in a few countries, but surely not, at least in Italy, that I've experienced, an easily followable way to get your previous degrees recognized. You have to go through this long process, where as hopefully something like this, we can collaborate with those accrediting agencies and academic networks prior, so we don't have to retrospectively do it as I'm having to do now.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's very important for students once they have the recognition of their diploma.
Yeah, thank you. And in general, I think the objective, at least at policy level of this label and maybe future European degrees, is exactly to facilitate both, on the one hand, access and recognition, academic recognition of degrees that we all know is very challenging still, and joint programs have been existing for about 20 years now already, but also towards the labor market. So I think both dimensions are very relevant, and also it emerged out of the discussion earlier with all the panelists. So this should be definitely the goal. So hopefully this could help in both directions. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. We are also a bit behind time, as I was saying, but thank you for staying with us. The webinar was very well participated, so we had over 150 participants, and still around 90 stayed even up to now. So very glad that there was such a wide participation. And feel free to get in touch with us also via our website and other channels. We'll be happy also to deepen some of the discussions that we had no time to go into today. So thank you very much. Also special thanks to our panelists for taking the time to be with us today. So very appreciated. And of course, we'll be in touch, because I think it's very relevant also then to share the results of the whole results of the different projects, and also the outcomes of the policy papers that the European Commission is preparing in this sense. So we'll be in touch in the next months, and certainly there will be some follow-up actions also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Grazie mille. Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.